Good afternoon, and welcome to Lunch and Learn number 7. Yay! Today is going to be about, does bad hair mean bad health? We're going to talk a little bit about different hair conditions and fact and fiction. I hope you'll enjoy this. I hope you'll learn a lot. And I also hope that you'll learn how that Monat products can benefit you and your hair health by using the products continually. So let's go ahead and start. Sit back, relax, let's eat, learn, and discover Monat products together. And here we go. So, does bad hair mean bad health? Fact or fiction? I would say fiction. Sometimes, well, actually fiction and fact, and I'll explain why. Because is your hair trying to tell you something about your health? Perhaps. Some conditions and medications affect your body as well as your hair. In other cases, you may just need to take better care of your hair or your scalp. So we're going to use this particular learning session to see what separates fact from fiction when it comes to your hair and your health. Let's start with dandruff. Does dandruff pose a health risk? Fact or fiction? What do you think? Fiction. Dandruff is not a health risk, and believe it or not, as some people don't think, it isn't contagious. So how do you get dandruff? Well, you know what? Doctors sometimes aren't really sure either. But one theory is that it's due to an overgrowth of a type of fungus. Other possible triggers include skin that's either too dry or too oily, and shampooing either too often or not often enough, and having eczema or underlying psoriasis. While it may be embarrassing, it isn't harmful. How do we treat dandruff, or tips for treating it? Well, to decrease the buildup of dandruff, because they are dead skin cells, we want to use a shampoo and conditioner that is anti-dandruff, or that helps balance out what? That's right, you already know this, the pH and equalize oils on the scalp. And what treatment system is that? It's Monat Balance System. It is the perfect system to help with dry, flaky dandruff. Now, there's different types of dandruff, and right now we're talking about the dry, flaky dandruff. And for that, it would be the Balance treatment system. But what if you have kind of a yellowy, sticky dandruff? If the dandruff flakes you see are greasy and kind of yellow, you may have what's called seborrheic dermatitis. It's an inflammatory skin condition, and it can occur where there are lots of oil glands, such as on the scalp and sometimes on the face. Though seborrheic dermatitis may be related to hormones, fungus, or even some neurological problems, we treat it the same way as dandruff. But we use a different type of formula. Now, our men's treatment system, that's where this comes in. We developed the men's treatment system to target male scalp skin. Now, male scalp skin contains more sebaceous or oil glands. Men tend to perspire more, and men tend to build up that greasy kind of buildup on the scalp that can cause the yellow dandruff flakes that stick and don't necessarily just kind of fly out like regular dandruff. It will cut through the greasiness and help get rid of the stickier type of dandruff. So, recapping, white flaky dandruff that just flakes on that you see maybe on your dark clothes, balance system. Perfect to equalize the oils and control dry or oily scalp. Yellowish dandruff that is greasy and sticky and more or less sticks on the scalp, and when you scratch your head, it either comes off on your finger or you can see it in your hair. then you would want to use the men's treatment system. Okay, let's move on. Does shedding mean that you have a health issue? Fact or fiction? That would be fiction, for the most part. There are some instances when it can be a health issue, and we're going to talk about that. Because you shed more hair than you think, it's not necessarily a bad thing to shed, because we estimate that humans shed anywhere from 100 to 150 or more hair a day, and it's not cause for alarm, and it doesn't mean that you're going to go bald. About, and listen carefully to this, about 90% of your over 100,000 hair follicles are producing hair at any given time. The other 10% are in what's called the telogen or resting phase, and the hair falls out after about 2 or 3 months, and it's replaced by new hair. And then the growth cycles then start over and over again. Now, having your hair fall out during the shedding process is normal. The good thing is that Monat products will help when that hair falls out to provide the necessary means and health and the healthy environment for the hair to regrow better, quicker, longer, stronger, fuller. You know the drill. But there are different types of hair loss rather than just your regular hair loss. And one of those is called telogen effluvium. I know it sounds kind of like a long name, but it's telogen effluvium. And what that is a shock to your system. Something like surgery, giving birth especially, medications, crash diets, severe stress, thyroid problems can push hair into its telogen or resting state prematurely. And then about 2 months later, 2 to 3 months later, sometimes even longer, then you may see your hair falling out. A condition, like I said, is called telogen effluvium. And it's sometimes described as hair coming out in handfuls. And in most cases, new hair starts growing right away. But if it doesn't, then you need to talk to your physician and seek medical help if you're very concerned about that. The good thing is, Monat products, like I said, helps to keep the hair in the growing stage longer. And if something like this happens to you, you have a shock to your system, by using Monat, you're going to prepare the scalp and you're going to get that hair to grow back faster. Sometimes we can't fix or know that we're going to have a shock to our system. It can come on subtly. And like I said, months down the road, we can have hair falling out. It doesn't, like I said, it does not mean that you are going bald forever. It can be a temporary situation, and our products can help grow that hair back better. What about alopecia areata? We've all heard of alopecia. Is it a health problem or is it a hair problem? Well, let me rephrase that. Is it a hair problem? Fact or fiction? Fiction. Alopecia, or losing your hair, is your immune system mistakenly attacking your hair follicles, causing your hair to fall out, and sometimes suddenly. Most of the affected areas have 1 or 2 bald patches, but in some cases, all the body hair falls out. Now, I've told this story before, but I'll tell you again, that my sister went through, an attack something like this years ago, where she went to bed one night, and the next morning, she woke up, and all of her eyebrows and all of her eyelashes were totally gone. And they didn't know if it was actually, alopecia, or if it was, what we just talked about as far as the telogen effluvium. So But what happened is that she had thought back, and months prior to that, she'd gone through a very stressful time in her life. And it didn't present itself for a few months later, and all of a sudden, she woke up and her hair was gone. Now, the hair on her head, she did lose some of it, but not all of it. But it was mainly her eyelashes and her eyebrows. So things like that can happen to us. Um, and it's not so much that it's harmful to us, but it's difficult psychologically. None of us want to see our hair fall out. None of us want to see, especially our eyelashes or our eyebrows, fall out either. But it does grow back on its own or with the help of treatments or treatment systems from Monat. Unfortunately, there are that very few amount of people where it may not grow back because of some other response the body has had to that particular incident. If that is the case, they need to seek professional advice as well. Let's move on. Is hair loss in general, male hair loss or balding, and women's hair loss or female balding, is it a sign of poor health? Mainly fiction. Genes cause about 90% of male pattern baldness and female pattern baldness. Through heredity, the trait may be influenced by your mother's family, and it also can be influenced by your father's family. So if you look at both sides and you see balding, chances are, it may affect you too. Hopefully, maybe not. Maybe it'll skip you. But there is a good possibility that you could have some type of genetic hair loss. Male pattern baldness starts with the receding hair at the temples, and then it goes to the crown, then it leaves a horseshoe-shaped ring around the sides of the head. Female pattern baldness tends to mean that hair is thinning all over the head. Unlike men, they really do have a pattern where it mainly starts here, and like I said, and they use it here, and then it leaves the little baldness around here. But with women, we tend to lose hair or go bald all over at once, rather than just in specific areas, if it's genetic. Other myths, let me ask you this, as far as with women, that they say that long hair can put a strain on your roots and cause balding. Is that true or false? Fact or fiction? That's fiction. And what about shampooing too often or using products too often? Does that cause hair loss? Well, that can be fact and fiction. Using good products will never hurt your hair. Using bad, cheaper products that contain lots of chemicals can cause hair loss. Thank goodness for Monat. Does the sun damage our hair or age our hair? Is that fact or fiction? That is obviously a fact. Too much sun can turn your hair into dry and brittle mop top that breaks and splits easily. And if you already have thinning hair, you risk sunburning your scalp. And sunburning your scalp can actually cause damage to the follicles, and in severe cases, actually cause the follicles to die. So you don't want to get severe sunburn on your scalp. Choosing hair products with sunscreen or sun absorbers are the best possible thing that you can do. And guess what? We have Crotosorb in our products. Crotosorb is a UVA and UVB absorber, which means that it protects your hair from the sun and the damage that it can cause, and it also protects the natural and chemical colors in your hair to keep them looking better and lasting longer. Does your hair need nutrients? Fact or fiction? Of course, that's a fact. But how does not having enough nutrients affect your hair? Well, what about crash diets? Can that cost you your hair? In some extreme cases, yes, it could. Your hair needs protein, it needs iron, it needs fatty acids, zinc, vitamin A, all of these things to stay healthy. A very, very low calorie diet are often lacking in these nutrients and can stunt your hair growth, make it slow down, or it can leave your hair dull and limp. If the nutritional deficiency is large enough, such as someone that has an eating disorder like anorexia or bulimia, it can actually cause the hair to fall out. The good news again, though, if that were to happen, Monat products can again help regain that growth and provide the healthy environment to replace the hair that has fallen out, as long as the person changes their lifestyle and becomes healthy from the inside out as well. So what is a hair healthy diet? Salmon is wonderful because it contains omega fatty acids. Spinach is great, although I hate spinach, but spinach is great. Carrots are great for vitamin A. Brazil nuts are wonderful. We talked about chickpeas before, and they're like a superfood for selenium, and oysters and walnuts for zinc. All of these can help maintain scalp hair and health, and as well as low-fat dairy products, not high-fat, but low-fat dairy products, whole grains, and of course, vegetables. And to double the results, the good thing about it, the foods that are good for your hair are also good for your heart. So if you're eating good, chances are you're going to have beautiful, healthy hair and a healthy heart so that you can live longer to show off your beautiful, healthy hair. Graying, premature graying. Is it considered a health issue or a hair issue? Fact or fiction? Does premature aging or premature graying mean that you have bad hair? Fiction. Going gray isn't always related to aging. If you're not yet 40 and you see more than a few gray hairs, the chances are it runs in your family. Gray usually isn't a sign of poor health, although conditions like anemia or thyroid issues, vitamin B12 deficiency, things like that can cause premature graying, but going gray does not necessarily mean you have bad hair health. The good thing about Monat is that our products contain active botanicals that actually help to increase natural hair growth. Natural hair or new baby natural hair coming in can sometimes regain its melanin or color and come back with your normal color rather than gray. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it does happen, and it's one of the wonderful side effects of Monat. Alopecia, traction alopecia, can it damage the follicles? Does it damage the follicles? Fact or fiction? That's a fact. What is traction alopecia? It's pulling the hair too tight. And this can happen with wearing your hair in ponytails too much, braiding your hair too tight, cornrowing your hair. That can all cause damage to your roots and cause hair to break or even fall out. Hair extensions and hair pieces can sometimes cause traction alopecia as well, because the extra weight on the hair pulls the existing hair, tugs at it, and eventually pulls it out. Changing your hairstyle usually lets the hair grow back. So in other words, we have the solution for that. If you change your hairstyle and aren't doing the pulling on your hair, Monat has a great chance of restoring that hair and bringing it back. Too much pulling of the hair, though, for too long of a period of time can cause permanent damage, and Monat may or may not be able to revive those follicles. Next is, can overstyling weaken your hair? Or does overstyling weaken your hair? Fact or fiction? Well, it's fact and it's fiction. And why do I say fact or fiction? Because styling your hair in itself does not weaken your hair, especially if you're using good products like Monat. If you're protecting the ends, if you're protecting your roots, if you're doing what you should with good products, your hair will stay healthy and strong. But regular blow drying, using straighteners, bleaching, even overbrushing with the wrong type of bristles can all damage the outer layer or the cuticle of your hair. And then when the cuticle is damaged and the inner core of your hair is exposed, then that's when it becomes dry and dull. Although it doesn't cause permanent health damage to your hair, you can overstyle to the point that your only option for healthy hair is to cut it off, like with split ends or damaged ends, and start again. The good news is, with Monat, is that if you have damaged your hair from these type of styling aids and things that can weaken your hair, once you start using Monat and continue on Monat for an extended amount of time, you're not going to have that damage. You're not going to have to worry about having to trim your hair again and starting all over, which a lot of us have done many, many times, and it's not a fun thing to go through. The last is, do medications affect our hair health? That is a fact, a big fact. There is a wide variety of medications and sometimes supplements that people are taking today that list hair loss as a possible side effect. Usually, though, hair will grow back when the medication is stopped. And I said usually because there are always exceptions to the rule, and there are times when someone has been on a medication for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, and it has actually damaged the follicles, enough that they will or it will not grow again. Having said that, though, I've seen cases where I have thought there is absolutely no way that this person will, be able to regrow their hair, and they do. So when people ask me, and I'm sure they've asked you also, is this going to help somebody that has this? Or is this going to help somebody that has this, or they've done this for years? The only true way to know is to try Monat for at least 90 days, because you're going to get your maximum effect after the 90 days. But that is the only way, because people are so different and our bodies are so unique. You have no idea how it's going to affect or be able to help someone. So the best thing that you could ever do is to just say, let's try it. Let's see if this is going to work for you. And when you're showing them the pictures of before and after, the best thing also that you can say is, look at this, and look what this has done, or Monat has done for these people, the before and after. And the only difference between you and these results is about 90 days. So let's go ahead and try it. Well, that's it for my Lunch and Learn today. I hope you learned the difference between fact and fiction and hair health, and that it will guide you and help you in your conversations and your sharing with Monat products. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you next week on our Lunch and Learn. Bye-bye, everyone.